Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Moviecast, episode 492. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsod.
Hey.
And Tony Korkanakis.
Yo.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, guys, to the Moviecast 492. Not much going on in the movie world. But guys want to go to the box office? No?
There is no box office.
Yeah, it's such a weird time, man. It really is.
I'd like to go, but can't.
Man, you know what's crazy is like I didn't even open my beer yet. Jeez, my experience.
That is crazy.
I know my experience of watching things right now is based on like I don't know why I'm just watching nostalgic stuff. Like I started watching The Office again. I can always watch that.
I mean,
You
because
just need uplifting stuff. You need comfort. It's basically comfort food
It's
for them.
comfort food.
but nothing new is also happening too, and sports and everything else is. It's an interesting time to look back at older stuff, classic stuff, revisit old stuff. So I think it makes sense to do that with TV and movies too.
Yeah, I watched.
It's going to be
original.
like interesting trivia question in 20 years. Who is the NBA champion in 2020?
Yeah,
It's
that'd
like
be a
the
trick
word
question.
no.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I watched 1966 Zorro, which
Whoa.
was amazing because I completely didn't realize. Like as a kid, I think I watched that nonstop on my TV, and I didn't know that. But when I was watching it, I'm like, this seems so familiar. And then my older brother said, we used to watch that constantly on the TV. It would just run forever. And I'm like, oh, well, that's how I just knew it then because I forgot all about it now. But all the actors and everything, I'm like, these guys all look so familiar to me. So to the point where there was an old Family Channel Zorro series that in my head, I'm thinking of these black and white actors playing in that show, which was in color, but I don't remember. Like I'm just putting them into that in my memory. So I must have always thought about that. But yeah, so I've been watching, like I said, a lot of old stuff. Simpsons going through season 5. Freaking show is amazing. It has the barbershop episode. That Treehouse of Horror was excellent. That's the one where they have the Bram Stoker's make fun of like Mr. Burns. Such great episodes, and I will say I watched baseball. Mike?
The show?
No, I watched SNY's virtual broadcast of the Mets versus the Nationals. They're doing simulation games through MLB The Show. Did I tell you guys about that last week with Gary, Keith, and Ron?
You are watching the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You mentioned it last week, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a couple of those things. It's I guess kind of taking care of it. It's not as good without the actual announcers on it. But when they were doing so, it was I already froze. They just did. It was so good that like I was just I don't know. It wasn't as interesting when you're just watching it normally because then you get the normal MLB The Show voice announcers doing it. But it's still good. I mean, I still found myself getting into it. So that's pretty much all I've watched besides video games, but I'm going to talk about that in video games. So we'll get into that for me in a little bit. I think that's it. I mean, I don't think I've seen anything of note. So, Mike, anything good?
Well, I did start, like I mentioned last week, I got a DC Universe. So I started with the animated series, Batman animated series again. And I'm pretty sure that the way this isn't the real order or something. I don't know. That it wasn't the original aired order, or I know that there's some sort of nonsense with that. Cause,
Yeah, they released some episodes.
There were. Yeah, there was.
So I watched On Leather Wings. That's the first one that they have listed here, which it was a good, solid episode. But then the second one, it's Joker's introduction, but it's a Christmas episode and Robin's in it. Already, I'm like, that's weird. And then that one was a little bit like there's a bunch of memes I think from that episode. It's a little bit jankier than I think what we're used to from the early animated series, but it's interesting though to see how it is going back there. But I'm obviously going to keep going with that. And other than that, I kind of watched the NBA's attempt to have something happen with their online horse games, which is very interesting because you have current players, retired players, and NBA players, and WNBA players, and you just see whoever had the better indoor home court had a distinct advantage, except for this one WNBA player had a cheaper backboard, and it it bent when it hit. So she made all these bank shots that no one else was making.
Yeah.
But the problem was everyone's doing this on their phone, and it's like Jim over here half the time freezing.
Hey,
so,
I'm hoping for a good night. We had one freeze, but let's hope.
But that was the big issue with that. They had a lot of stutters in it, so it was a nice attempt, I think. An interesting thinking outside the box thing, but it wasn't so great because of that.
I mean, it's been fun. Like I've been seeing a lot of people watching the John Krasinski's
some good news.
Yeah, some good news. Yeah, I watched the first episode of that. That was good. I haven't gone back to see the rest of it on YouTube, but he's doing that for free, which is awesome of him.
It was funny because somebody started a thread on Reset Era because the most recent episode, he made a comment about like how he'd never be able to play a superhero or something like that, and he kind of like did one of those like Jim Halpert smirk things afterwards. So a lot of people are like looking at that like, is that a clue? Is that a hint? Like, is he gonna drop the news? Because again, apparently he was I think originally auditioning for Captain America way back when, stuff like that. So they get him on as
Well, you see all the memes and all the people like posting like photoshops of him and Emily Blunt as the Reed Richards and Sue Storm. So yeah, there's a lot of
rumors flying,
theories out there.
Yeah. So that's cool. Nothing else, Mike?
No, that's it for what I watched.
All right, Corey, anything good?
I actually was watching some DC Universe stuff too, actually, because the Harley Quinn cartoon has been like just killing it. Like it's so good. Yeah. And season 2 started. So last week was the first episode. This is the second episode. And this is good. It's pretty neat. I have to say, like, you definitely want to watch season 1 before you watch season 2 because of how they what ends season 1. They kind of start right from there. Okay. So you definitely want to be in on that because it's a kind of a spoiler to kind of talk about season 2.
So it actually because I don't know, I have the most confusing thing about this show from the outside looking in is the tone. So I know it's funny, obviously, but it's not funny enough where the plot doesn't matter. It's like it actually has like plot threads that continue that matter.
Yeah, no, it's there's stuff that like, the whole show is about Harley Quinn kind of breaking free of Joker and wanting to become her own, supervillain essentially, and so it kind of follows that thread in season 1, and then season 2 kind of follows the ending of season 1, and like I said, it's kind of a spoiler to talk about it. So, but I like where they're going with it, and
but I
there's
just
some interesting things that happen. Like this is its own universe. Like Jim Gordon's a complete like drunk, terrible cop who's so dependent on Batman for everything that like he feels like it's like this one-sided relationship where like Batman's his like best friend, but Batman obviously doesn't feel that way, and so it's its own universe, which is great because they can do their own thing with it, and there are certain things that happen that you would not expect to happen because like you expect certain characters to be more popular or more prevalent, but it's more about the B characters in this show.
How many episodes is season 1?
I think it's 10, maybe.
10 or so? Okay.
Yeah. It's not that long.
Because I might subscribe for a month or so.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely get through it, like the season in a weekend. It's really short, and then they're short episodes, so it's not like 10 episodes.
Is it like standard 20-minute episodes, or?
22.
It's a little it's like a little bit longer than that, but it could fit on television.
Gotcha.
Commercials.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good. And then I've just been like watching Castle again, nostalgia stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Tony.
Let's see.
Sorry, I did watch The Arrival also again because Tony was talking about it in Discord, and like I was like that was that's number 2 I think on my decade.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that now.
And so
you have to give that a watch because I got that on Voodoo.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see what I watched. I watched Knives Out finally, and that was a really good movie. I liked it a lot. It's a murder mystery movie, but it was kind of like a comedy in a way. And,
it's like, it reminded me a little of Clue, like the movie Clue.
Yeah.
Not as goofy, but a little more serious, but still it kind of had that vibe for me.
Yeah. But I liked it. The storytelling was good. I just really regret because I was semi-spoiled on it by Twitter, And it wasn't even like somebody like just tweeting like it was just like, this is so cool, of like the packaging of the Blu-ray or something like that. And I thought nothing of it. And this is like, you know, if any listeners beware, like there's a Blu-ray version where it's like has like a cover that like folds out or something like that, and it has all the knives and weapons that like come in a circle, and it hones in on like the character that it a specific character. So the whole time I'm like, okay, like rubbing my chin, I'm like, I don't trust you and stuff like that. And it's like by then I'm like, damn it, like it didn't like completely ruin it, but it was one of those things where like I wish I had just come to that conclusion on my own, because it's not like I think I would have suspected it anyway, but like just because I knew it was like I couldn't shake it and stuff like that.
Right.
But
certain things throughout the movie make more sense if you're honed in on certain characters.
Right.
And so like, yeah, if you're already being swayed towards a specific character, it's like, all right, I'm gonna, you know, look for things that are gonna be interesting. Like, why are you so guilty and stuff? You know, it's not gonna be as fun if you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. I kind of hope maybe he does like a sequel, maybe not with.
And they're talking about making this a franchise. So.
Yeah, like, you know, because I was thinking about it. It's like you probably, I mean, I doubt you could really do this stuff with the same family again, but maybe Daniel Craig's character is the detective.
Right,
like maybe doing another, you know, case or something like that. I think that would be cool, because just the writing was like really clever in the premise and stuff. So that was cool. Let's see what else I watched. I watched this new Korean drama on Netflix called Hospital Playlist, which is like, I don't know, I was just going through it and it was like super popular. It was on like, I don't know, whatever, and I was like hovered over it, and it's like 5 like adults that were friends since like college, work at the same hospital, and you know, amidst all like, because they all work in like pretty serious positions, they're like, oh, let's form a band to like let off some steam and I don't know, whatever, stuff like that. So it's an interesting premise. Pretty good so far. It's only like, I think 5 episodes or so, but like it's like hour-long episodes. So I should be done with that by next week to see how it goes. But it's highly rated in Korean. Netflix ratings are pretty good and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it from me.
All right, cool. So we've got a good topic tonight. We're going to get into that in a little bit. It's our top 5 90s TV shows. We did our cartoons last week, so we thought we'd follow it up with that. You know, it's time of year. Not much movie news, so we're going to do that as a topic. Let's go into the news, though, and talk about what's a little bit that's been happening. James Gunn came on record actually recently saying that there will be that he doesn't see any reason to delay Suicide Squad or the filming of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because Guardians is
wasn't Suicide Squad like pretty much wrapped up?
Finished. Yes, filming? It's finished. They actually have they were prepared for this, like, you know, shelter in place thing. So many of the employees are working from home via computers they were allowed to bring home. So the editing is still going on at home for these people, and I can't imagine what the logistics of not leaking the movie is with this. But they're still moving ahead, so it's going to be coming, I guess, on schedule. Unless we don't have movie theaters open by then, who knows? I hope we do. But we were talking about that like last week. We mentioned when you guys think the movie theaters will have the first right? Yeah. We were saying that last week. I had another conversation this weekend about that. Like, what movie is there anyways? You know, like there's nothing coming out anyways until at least November. Right? I mean, what is coming out this at all? You know, nothing.
I mean, we don't even know when theaters are coming out. So
Ghostbusters has not been delayed yet officially, but you know,
it's stupid.
Was Wonder Woman this summer?
Yep, that was pushed though already, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think it's still like pushed to August.
Oh, maybe it is August. Yeah, it could be. So, I don't see anything releasing until at least September. To be honest with you, I just don't. But we'll see. But you know, they're working on that. Launching though, new streaming service Peacock is launching early. If you have Comcast, that is.
Is it NBC or?
Yeah. NBC is going to be obviously owned by Xfinity. We'll be launching on the Xfinity TV, so you can watch the whole library of old NBC shows in the app that's going to be included in your service. So if you have Xfinity, you don't have to pay anything extra. They're going to be offering it out to other people for $4.99 a month for commercials and $9.99 a month for commercial free.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, but there's no new content. Like, they're launching it early, and it's just for their old backlogs, like Parks and Rec, 30 Rock. No Office yet. The Office is on Netflix right now still. That contract does not expire for a little while. Frasier, Saved by the Bell original, Galactica, that's on there. That's a good show.
Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica. Psych is on there. Heroes, guys, come on, Heroes. Nothing, no. Columbo, Airwolf, those were great. Those are great shows. Sequest.
Do they not have Seinfeld either?
They do not have Seinfeld either. So.
What is that, on Hulu or something right now?
What the hell is the New Adventures of He-Man? Is that like the animated reboot attempt that they tried? They tried? I can't remember that one.
I don't know, man. But NBC was in its peak in the '90s anyway. It's sort of been since then.
Yeah, but they're coming out with a lot of exclusive content for this next year. Of course, all of that's on hold right now. So like the Saved by the Bell reboot. There's been rumors about something with The Office being in production, like a special or something like that. So they have a whole bunch of movies too. You get NBC Universal, so you get E.T., Jurassic Park, Shrek. Just reading off a few here. Blair Witch.
Yeah, I mean that's fine and all, but it just seems like.
I mean, for me, it's gonna be great because I have Xfinity, so I get it for free. So it's nice for me. But yeah, I wouldn't pay $5 for this yet.
I mean, maybe if like I really wanted to binge one or two series, I'd do it for a month. But like, if they're not adding stuff all the time, like it's
that's what I mean. I did that with CBS. I'm not subscribed to CBS right now. I just watched Picard, and I watched the Star Trek Discovery, and now I'm off of that. So I'll pick that back up when Discovery comes back, or they have a show that I really want to watch, and that's gonna be. I can see that being NBC. You subscribe. Don't subscribe yearly. Subscribe monthly because there's just not enough content to warrant that. So yeah. Let's see. That is coming out. I think it launches nationally July 15th, but it's coming out I think this month on Comcast. So let's see. Oh, this was confirmed. Sam Raimi is officially the director of Doctor Strange.
Oh shit.
That is 100% confirmed. Sam Raimi comes back to the Marvel world. Do we get like we have to be getting Tobey Maguire. We have to be getting Tobey Maguire.
Maybe he'll play he'll be like the character from Bruce Campbell, like his cameo stuff, just like really like
show up and pop in here and there.
Yeah.
I could see him donning the Spider-Man costume and showing up in this movie.
In a multiverse.
Yeah, I can see it. Maybe a little joke about Spider-Man 3 in there. I don't know.
What, he'll be all emo?
Yeah. I mean, who's Bruce Campbell playing?
God.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell is going to be in this. Well, who's he playing? We know that.
I mean, his brother will probably be in it too, right?
He will.
Deity.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be like some deity.
I think.
So I don't know. I thought that was interesting that they're finally confirming that at least today. Get some news. Did anybody watch last season of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because I did not.
No.
I think the break really hurt them.
I
heard it, and like the fact that
the premise didn't.
Yeah, it didn't have anything to really do with anything. It seemed like.
That's been my criticism of that show every season. Like every different season once after the big twist happened and they did all their Hydra stuff. After that, to me, and you guys maybe didn't agree as much. I felt like every season was disconnected from the other ones.
Well, they were doing like these little mini stories, which is good. I like that. And then this one just kind of like it closed out, and then this came back with like Phil not knowing he was Phil, and like I don't know, it just seemed weird.
No, I'm pretty much sort of in my mind the series sort of ended with that one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out at some point, but yeah, I'm not trying.
Not in a rush.
Not chopping.
Wait till it gets Wait till it gets on Hulu or Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So. Disney Plus. Speaking of Robin Hood, the animated movie.
Did you even mention the news, Jim?
You didn't mention the news about it. Can we just talk about how did you guys watch it? And I thought you were leading into
what?
The final season.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I did. I said it was. Oh, I never said that. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoops. So the final season starts May 27th on ABC. I'm sorry. I completely didn't realize we didn't mention the news. So it's one final season.
That's it. That's cool. That's why.
There you go. Mike's prediction finally came through after like 5 years.
Do we get clearly this should have happened like 3 years ago.
I don't know. I think the break really hurt them last time. I really do.
Well, again, they fucking sidelined it to oblivion.
They also ended it pretty well. They also ended it pretty well with.
They ended it 2 seasons ago pretty well.
Yeah. With Coulson, no spoilers here. Coulson presumably dying on his island, and that was it. So it was. I don't know. It just seemed. Yeah, I guess that's really the drive. It wasn't there for me to come back to this. So I mean, I'm gonna watch it, but not live, not like every week like I was doing.
Well, I've had no desire to watch, as I said, the newer season that's happened since. But
yeah.
Whatever.
So, Robin Hood remake from the animated movie on Disney is coming to Disney Plus.
I don't know about this one.
Like the animated movie's getting a remake.
So it's getting a live action CGI hybrid thing they did. Yeah, I'm not shocked from it. I love that. That movie is like one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Sure. So it's like.
When was it originally released?
1970 or 67?
It's an older one. Yeah,
it's definitely older.
It's in a weird sort of Disney time period, like where you don't really.
It was like classic
80s.
No,
it was earlier than
that. I think it was. Yeah, I really do. It was doing this live, 1973.
Yeah, that's a weird sort of Disney era for me. Like,
no, it was a classic era. They were releasing great hits on movies. Sword in the Stone came out.
Yeah, see, I know.
Jungle Book, I think. Right? Yeah, it was around that time.
I think they were like just knocking out of the park. Like, obviously I didn't watch those when they came out because I wasn't born yet, but those are like some of my favorite movies from that. That era is like my favorite Disney era. So, like, I mean, seriously, like Robin Hood is one of my favorite. Sword in the Stone is one of my favorite. The Jungle Book was okay, but I don't. There's Cinderella I think was 70, wasn't it?
Cinderella, I think, is older.
Well, they started 50, in the 60s, right?
Is it 50?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Jeez, Alice in Wonderland was 1951. Peter Pan was 53.
Yeah, like I said, like I sort of picture most of them like earlier than the 70s. I feel like that's sort of like a weird in between like.
What's when like what was the Black Cauldron?
Black Cauldron.
85.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was.
I did start watching that again. I forgot I had that. I haven't finished that yet. I put it on my queue. I started watching like half of that. So, yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. The Lady and the Tramp wasn't that great, but we'll see how they do with this one. And finally, like we mentioned, the U.S. movie theaters aiming for a late summer blockbuster season. Obviously,
I don't know. The thing is, even if theaters do reopen, like things let up, I still think we're going to have a lot of people that are hesitant to go out in crowded spaces like this. So, I mean,
they're not planning on showing new movies. They're planning on showing like some older movies, and I guess the box office is not going to be huge because they're going to be doing like, I'm guessing if they're going to show like Onward again or stuff like, I wonder if they'll do that.
Well, nobody watched that yet?
Nah, I needed to.
Yeah,
maybe
I want to, but yeah, I will. I
mean, we'll see. It's hard to even predict, like, because they're hoping for like a July or August thing, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, nobody knows.
So, but July would probably be the earliest it could possibly be.
I can guarantee you they're not opening tomorrow. That I can guarantee. So.
Did you guys see that
prediction.
the Louisiana police use the siren sound from The Purged?
Yeah, I heard that. Unbelievable. What were they thinking?
They weren't thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, did you guys hear about the NASCAR racer who got, like, I think this is more video game news, but I mentioned in the video game broadcast as well. He's not driving anymore for NASCAR.
Yeah, he's suspended until he goes through sensitivity training, I believe, and he lost all of his sponsorships.
He got fired today from his. They got fired. They fired him. Yeah.
Who was the driver?
Kyle Larson. Dropped an N-word on.
I'm really surprised by that.
And the only reason why he did it, the worst.
Well, 100,000 fans of his are probably with him with that too.
It's the sad part.
It's because he thought his mic broke, so he just said it because what's the worst thing I can say here? It's like, no one can hear me. He's like, yes we can. It's like, oops, there goes my career.
Pretty much. So yeah. Oh. All right, let's get into our topic of the night: the '90s top '90s TV shows. I personally kept cartoons off my lists because of.
Well, we did cartoons last time.
Yeah,
we did that last time. So it's pretty much top '90s live action shows.
Yeah. And same. I will kick us off like I always do. Number 5, Home Improvement.
Interesting.
Love that show. I went through, like, I had a list of a ton of shows, and I'm like Married with Children was on there. There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, now I'm going to start my list with Home Improvement. I think it's the one that, like, if I look back on now,
I just see Matt doing that all the time.
Yeah, I could still watch it. Like, I could put on TV and just watch it. They leave it on. You know what I mean? It's like leave it on. You know, Wilson, the neighbor, hiding his face the whole time.
And, yeah.
You know, More Power and Al. I mean, there's such a classic thing about that.
I liked it as a kid, but I don't know. I think it's because, like, Tim Allen's just a douchebag now that, like, it ruins it retroactively for me. Like, I've even tried watching that newer show of his, whatever it is.
That is god awful. And,
and that is terrible.
It's funny because my brother likes it, but I can't. It's just obnoxious, that show.
And it just seems. I don't want to derail, but, like, I saw one episode, and it seemed so targeted at, like, bashing millennials for the boomers because, like, he works at some, I don't know. Not a hardware store, but
it's a sporting goods place.
Sporting goods store, that's it.
It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
No, not even that. It's more hunter.
Yeah, hunter. Yeah, hunter ass.
Or Kabbalahs, whatever.
That's what we want.
Yeah, but like it was just aimed because like apparently like the manager or the owner of the company or whatever, his like granddaughter who's just like fresh out of college in marketing wanted to like do this revamp for like online.
Oh, I think
shopping.
I saw this. Yeah.
And like, and he's just like, oh, these kids don't understand. You just want to like pick something up and hold it and look at it and admire it. And it's just like it just was making fun of that. I'm just like, wow.
Well, the other thing for me too, and it's ironic I'm going to say this during this '90s live action show thing, but at the time, like I can accept the premise of like a standard, you know, sitcom, like stationary camera with obvious sets, live studio, all this thing. Like that's the '90s, and that was cool then. Like, but right now, like I can't get into sitcoms anymore that are new. Like it's just like why are you doing that? That's
really what made my list like sitcoms a lot. Well, you know, three of them.
I have 3 sitcoms too on mine. It was.
I mean,
this was the '90s was.
Yeah.
90s was dominated by sitcoms.
Who's next? What we got? Number 5.
Mike, what was your number 5?
My number 5, and all of these could be kind of, except for number 1, in my opinion, they could all be interchangeable. But my number 5 is my favorite sitcom on Nickelodeon was Kenan and Kel.
Cool.
And I really like, because I remember back in the day, Snick was where it was at. There was all that. There was Kenan and Kel, and then cartoon stuff like Kablam, Are You Afraid of the Dark? But my favorite one, I thought the funniest one was Kenan and Kel growing up. So.
Oh man, I forgot about Pete and Pete.
Pete and Pete.
How could you
forget about Salute Your Shorts? That's what I forgot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I like those shows too, but I feel like my favorite one was probably Kenan and Kel, just because it's the funniest to me. Yep. So that'll be my number 5.
All right, Corey, your number 5.
Oh, my number 5 is Quantum Leap.
Ooh, good one.
I forgot about that one too. That was pretty. I never watched much of it. I think I watched like season 1, but I never like pursued it after that.
Finale,
I like the premise.
The finale, though. I mean,
you gotta expect it.
Let's be honest.
Almost
all of these shows we're mentioning, because this is just what happened. Then they all had awful finales.
Oh yeah. My number 1 has probably one of the worst finales in my opinion ever, and it's. For the record, I'm going to give this away. Seinfeld did not make my top 5, and I'm sure it's going to be on top 5.
Oh wow!
Did not make my top 5.
That's what I thought you were alluding to.
No, and that's why I said that right now, because I don't want you to think I'm not talking about Seinfeld. I'm talking about another show that I always watched. But yeah, they had such bad finales.
I mean, that's the thing is a lot of these shows like back then they really didn't know. It was just they're all just procedural. They weren't really like they weren't thinking of how they're gonna finish.
Merchandising and-
Yeah,
No. The other thing is too. Yeah, back then when the show was done, it was done.
Done.
It
Right,
wasn't.
moved on.
It
There was no
wasn't.
DVD
It wasn't.
sales really.
No,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like they didn't want to leave things open for a spin-off or another universe or something else.
right. No,
So what you had with like stuff like Quantum Leap, you have a hard ending written but in text where it's like there's no hope for any interpretation or
Wait,
extrapolation.
so just because I don't think I'll ever watch it, what was the ending to? Did they ever get back to their original?
No, in a scrolling text, the last line of the scrolling text, he never made it home.
And what was funny is the last episode otherwise is relatively hopeful for him. Like,
Yeah.
right, you think like they all they needed to do was like just say like they could have just done the other opposite with it too, and
No,
been
but
like
the guy
and
was
makes
so
it back.
pissed.
Yeah.
The writer was so pissed the show got canceled. That's how he ended the show.
So wait, how many seasons did it go on?
Probably 7, 9, something like that.
9 years or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know if 9. Like I felt like it was 5 or 6.
I'm gonna look this
I'm
up.
bringing it up right now.
But like, the show is about a guy who's gets transferred into other people's bodies and has to be these people.
Oh, it was 5.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's right. 5. So yeah, they have to be. He gets transferred into these people's bodies and has to kind of solve problems for, a character in the show. So it's every episode's a completely different thing. But he's trying to find his way back home. He's basically this ghost that like embodies these like people, and and then he's got his friend Al who.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. He's always
it's really the perfect premise to a show because the show could be about anything every week. Like it'll be like a war show one week. He'll be Marilyn Monroe another week. He'll be in the Old West.
Yeah, he'll jump into all these different bodies and people and times, and
he'll be Babe Ruth or something like that. He could be anything.
Oh, okay. I got this confused for a different show. Sliders.
Yeah, Sliders. I was just thinking about that was in the 2000s. That was
95.
95. Yeah, that was in the 90s. Yeah.
Barry O'Connell, right?
Didn't have Scott Bakula attached to it though. This has Scott Bakula.
All right, so that's my number 5.
All right, Tony, you're number 5.
My number 5 is more like teenage year, like young teenage years, but Saved by the Bell. Just I don't know. As a kid, like early teenager, I don't know. I just liked it because it like depicted somebody closer to my age group and stuff like that, and they just, always got into hijinks and like, I don't know. I think nowadays it's contributed to a lot of like meme-worthy stuff with like especially that YouTube channel that like just makes fun of like Zach Morris's trash, and it's like this episode is about how Zach is a total douchebag to his like girlfriend Kelly and his best friend Screech and stuff like that, and you're just like, holy shit, like these episodes, like Zach is not a good person at all.
I think that back then there was this thing where they really took advantage of like the protagonist bias most of us have. Yeah. So they made like protagonists just like douchey, but they knew that we would never like hate them. Yeah. So it would almost be like just funny that the main guy is a douche, and like that's how they wrote around it.
Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, Saved by the Bell, catchy theme song too.
I'm gonna piggyback that because that's my number 4.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I could never get into that as a kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just like I love that. I don't know. I really love that show. There's iconic like memes born from that. There's I'm so excited. Everybody knows that whole part. I mean, there's just so much from that show. Like I remember watching that like the first episode premiering on Saturday morning cartoons. Actually, it was like weird to have a live action show premiere on Saturday.
Yeah, they had slightly different characters in the first episode, and they were never in the series then.
Yeah, they were in a couple episodes actually. The way that they did it was because they filmed like the first part of that show, and then it like never got picked up, and so then it made like a revival on the one network, and they couldn't get those same people back. That's what happened.
Yep.
So that's when they brought in AC Slater and I think Kelly wasn't in the first part of the show. So so. Yeah, so I don't know. There's so many great like moments from that. Like I said, I grew up with that too as a teenager, and like that. That's why.
Plus, what was her name? Tiffany Amber Thiessen or whatever was one of my like first crushes as a teenager.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Plus, little unknown trivia for podcast crew, but one of my friends in grade school, that was his second cousin. And I'd be like, dude, your second cousin's hot. Stuff like that. He'd be like, shut up. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. All right. Mike, number 4.
My number 4 is going to be Power Rangers.
Oh, good. Good show.
Obviously, like, this was pretty much after the Turtles became, like, a big like hit thing, and while they were starting to wane, the Power Rangers came around. It's like, oh, more martial arts color coded teenagers, sweet. And we all got into it for sure, and it was unlike anything we saw before. It was fun, at least those first 1.5 seasons while it was the main cast, pretty much all the way up until the movie, and then after that, no one cared. At least that's how I perceived it. But
I would like to say that just for sharing here that I hated the Power Rangers when it first came out. It was a fucking ripoff of Voltron. That's what I always saw it like, and I was angry when that came out because it wasn't Voltron. Voltron was way better, and that's
I saw it as a ripoff of the Turtles as a kid. Because
I saw it as a ripoff of Voltron, like straight up Voltron. And
I was like 6 at the time, 7 or so when it started. But it was fun. We watched it. It was goofy. Like even back then, we knew it was kind of goofy.
Yeah. But that Green Ranger
talk about it.
So good.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about it too because I somehow I totally forgot about it, and it just bumped off my number 4, which is fine because in retrospect I didn't really care for number 4. But yeah, Power Rangers is like that. Those first 2 seasons, I think that's where it was like with the original crew leading up to the movie, which is iconic and definitive in the 90s. Like even if you didn't like Power Rangers, like it was everywhere. Like you could not escape it. And that's actually what got me into like martial arts later on and stuff like that. But I mean, just the premise of the show, and like I could totally see like being a ripoff of Voltron and or
that's what I got,
Turtles. But I mean, I wouldn't say it was a ripoff. It was just like an evolution of that team-based genre and stuff like that.
I mean,
but,
you gotta have sides at those days though. You gotta pick a side.
Yeah.
So,
I just was like
totally,
angry. I liked it. I ended up liking it, but I didn't.
It was
my hatred of it when it first came out was that's why I didn't even make my list, because I'm like, I really like that show actually. The Green Ranger arc was excellent.
Yeah, I would. That's what I was gonna say.
I mean, that's like the only arc it really had.
Yeah,
but it was good.
Yeah, it was mostly like episode of the week stuff.
I mean, the guy Tommy, what's Frank, whatever his name is, like he's still milking that today.
I told you, I just played that cheap fighting game that they just released like a year ago, Battle for the Grid.
It's on
Game Pass.
I need to download that shit.
And he voices his character in that game.
Yeah.
Jason Davis. So he's all in it.
It had the Pink Ranger, guys. Come on. Pink Ranger.
She was my second, teenage crush.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tiffany and this. Yes. But Power Rangers. I mean, again, iconic theme song too. Like I could still hum that. Like,
it doesn't get. This is another great thing about the '90s. There's actually rock music was a thing back then, and they plugged it into these themes, and this was one of the more epic ones, I would say.
Funny enough, did you guys watch the episode of Toys of the Toys That Made Us?
The one with Power Rangers?
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you haven't, I would again recommend it because you learn a lot about it. And then actually, the guy who helped bring Power Rangers over with Saban, like whatever his name is, Saban, like his company also did like that intro music, which is kind of like, oh, it's crazy. Like that's what he was known for before then, was like making like music, songs, and stuff like that. I think he even I think they mentioned he helped Turtles song or something too. I could be misremembering.
It's possible. It's funny how there's this like toy company power brokers behind the scenes of all this stuff.
It's crazy. I mean, if you think about it, like it is pretty close. Like something Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, something Power Rangers. Like that's it.
I think they did mention that they wanted the same syllables in the title. But no, I really liked it. It just, I remember just being sort of disappointed after the movie, so that's why it's not any higher.
Yeah, once they started changing the cast, that's when I like fell off for a bit. But like different arcs, like as the show went on, like I would come back to it every now and then, just because like when they went into space, I thought that was kind of cool. It was a different twist, and I don't know. The Power Ranger fandom is really crazy. I don't want to get too deep into it, but like apparently that new, I don't want to say it's IDW, but like there's some new comic series based on that, and apparently it's amazing. And I'm just like, maybe I'll read it.
Cool. All right, Corey, you're number 4.
Number 4 is Boy Meets World.
Yeah,
Corey on my list, right?
I erased that one. That actually is I erased that number 5 for Home Improvement, but it was a tough erase. Like that was, I agree.
There's so I'm sure the same name factor as a child was a big factor for you for this.
Yeah, I mean, Corey's not a popular name, so it's like having that on TV is like, wow, this is so cool. It's a guy named Corey, and he's not even like the side character; he's the main character of the show. So that was cool, and just the characters, like good life lessons as a kid growing up and stuff like that. It's growing up with them, seeing them grow. It was a great show. Good feel good moments. Oh yeah. definitely.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Tony, did you have your number 4 then?
Power Rangers.
You're going Power Rangers. I didn't know if you're definitely doing that. Okay.
It kicked off, just for disclosure, Full House.
Okay.
All right, man.
That's a good kickoff. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3. Number 3 for me is Friends.
Okay.
That's number 3 for me as well.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seinfeld didn't make your list, and you threw Friends in there. Wow.
Friends is excellent. I was never a big...
I mean, I just know you're that kind of person now. That's all.
Yeah. I was never that much into Seinfeld back when it was actually out. I got more into it after on the reruns. But Friends I watch all the time, and I would rewatch the episodes over and over again. Like my friend and I, Mark, we were like, we would have that like running on tapes, and we would just have that running like all day while we were we could play games like handheld stuff, and we'd still have Friends on TV, and like you could recite the episodes like word for word. There's
Friends just has so many jokes that like just I don't know. I still think kind of hold up to today.
Yeah.
Even though it's a relic of the '90s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I'm psyched to see what they're gonna do for their reunion on HBO.
Wait, are they doing a reunion?
They are. It's on hold for this whole thing, but yes, they are doing like a real like a reunion kind of thing. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it was like such a long running show and such.
Plus, it's still popular today. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
When it hit Netflix, it just I was gonna say when it hit Netflix, it was like number 1 on everybody's.
I mean, they were fighting over it for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean they paid what, like 50 or 100 million?
Yeah, they paid a fortune for that.
Yeah.
So the royalties have to be great for these actors. But yeah, so I really like that number 3. Mike, your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep.
Surprising.
Wow,
I forgot that was number 1. Yeah.
Okay, that's my number 3 as well.
Wow.
So that means it's gonna be Angel.
No, the Angel only had like 1 season in the 90s. And also for this, I really only watched like a half a season in the actual 90s, and then I went back and watched the first 2. But, and it went to like 2003, so it was like almost half and half. But for me, the best seasons were the first 3, which were in the 90s. Because Angel was on a lot.
In the 90s. Was it? Did it end in like 2000, something like that?
2003.
Yeah, it started in 97.
7 seasons.
It started in 97, yeah.
97 and a shorter season near the end of the year, but yeah. So, I mean, obviously it was just a different type of show. It inverted the scared blonde girl thing. It made her the hero. And it had like interesting like lore, I thought, eventually, and the whole high school experience and stuff. And it was just a good show. Everyone knows it's a good show, honestly. And I really just put it lower on the list because I watched most of it after the 90s. That of the stuff that was in the 90s, but it's up there for sure.
All right. Corey, you put it on your list?
Yeah, that's my number 3 also. I think same reasons. It's actually got really good writing for like the kind of show it was, and it introduced some great characters, had some pretty cool like one-offs with like some of the later seasons, with the singing episode, whatever it was, just stuff like that. And then the characters are pretty interesting. I did like the characters that they had at the beginning and the ones they introduced, and always having a new big bad to fight and stuff. But as a teenage boy, I mean, Buffy was again like a TV crush. You couldn't deny Sarah Michelle Gellar's up there.
Well, I did like the first season of Buffy, but maybe it's just me. But like I remember seeing the movie Buffy and then being upset that like they recast Buffy, and I was just like, what the hell? And like I was always kind of like, I don't know, upset by that. So like it made me lose interest in that. So I never kept up with that after like maybe season 1 or season 2 or like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, 2 and 3 are the best seasons of the show for Buffy.
Yeah. Tony, anything to add to Friends? I know that was number 3.
No, just it's still funny. Still.
I still don't think I've ever seen a complete episode in one.
What? How?
Never crossed my radar for that. Like I saw like a couple clips here and there, or like commercials for it and stuff. I'm like, this show looks dumb. So I never.
You've never even seen like the funny like bits, like.
I've seen bits and pieces of it,
and it doesn't make you like laugh, like the funny.
I'm like, it's like some of the stuff here and there is like, it's okay, but I just don't feel like I'd want to spend time with these characters.
No, the thing is for me, like it's not on my list either. But I think some of it is funny, but I'm not
I
one of
appreciate
those.
what it's done, and like these guys first cast like $1 million a piece. Like that's ridiculous.
I just didn't. First of all, half of it went till 2004. I feel like half of it was not in the 90s. But also, it's to me, I didn't. It's not. I don't like when they're try. It's just a lot of relationship storylines that I tired of. Like I don't need that. Moment to moment, I thought it was funny, but I don't like relationship nonsense all over my comedies.
All right.
That's right.
Okay. I am my number 1 and number 2 right now have been like back and forth in my head, and I'm considering making a change right now. I wrote them down, and I'm like, do I make this?
Go with your gut, Jim. First thing that comes to mind. What's your number 1? Oh, number 2.
My number 2 then is I'm gonna stay. I'm keeping the list. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was number 2.
Okay.
It's like an honorable mention for me.
What? It didn't even make your list? That show.
No, I didn't
make my list.
Wow.
Fresh Prince is my number 2 as well, Jim.
Nice. Thank you. Good. Somebody else. Like this show, it was almost my number 1. Like, I mean, it is like. You can still watch it. It holds up perfectly today. Like I think it works great. Like maybe the first season doesn't hold up that great, but Will Smith put him on the map. I mean, iconic theme song, characters, episodes. Like, I mean, his friend who is a terrible actor, DJ Jazzy Jeff, had a role in the show.
He was too in the beginning. You see him like mouthing his words in the beginning of the show.
I think wasn't it he's credited as the first person to break the fourth wall in a comedy like this because he just was such a bad actor. He did it by accident, and they just kept it in.
Yeah, maybe. I know that he did it like so often in this show, but that was like part of the show though. It was great, and I don't know. I just love that show so much. It was almost my number 1. Like I just said.
For me, that show is one of those I could put on and just leave it on running.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
I mean, I liked it too, but I think maybe I was a little too young for it. That's why I went with like a few other things like Kenan and Kel for something similar. But I liked it. I just didn't really keep up with it then.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was on forever, so.
I know it's one of those things in syndication that you always watch.
Yeah. So, all right, Mike, your number 2.
My number 2 you actually mentioned already. It's Home Improvement.
Oh, nice.
And the reason why, to me, like I just feel like it fits the 90s. It like defined the 90s. It was and it was a big thing because it launched like multiple careers. Well, Jonathan Taylor Thomas and him, he shows up in Lion King, and like obviously Tim Allen was a big thing. He ends up in Toy Story, and there was like a video games too there, and like I remember
video game.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I even remember, like, me and my dad and my brother, if any time, like, we had to fix something, like, we would pretend my dad was Tim. Me, I think I was Al, maybe. And my brother was Bob Vila or something, because Bob Vila always had cameos in there. Or it might have been the other way around between me and my brother. But, it just defined, I think, that decade, kind of. And it's, in my opinion, probably the most, like, successful traditional sitcom of that era.
Yeah, it was really good. Yours was Fresh Prince, Corey. Tony, what was your number 2?
My number 2 is a show that I haven't actually completely finished, but it's still good enough to warrant number 2. But it's gonna be X-Files.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I was
my
a little
sister
young.
loved that show.
I think it needs to be on somebody's list, so I'm glad that it.
I was too young and afraid to watch it.
Yeah, I was a little young when it first came out, but it was one of those things that, even though I didn't really understand it, it was like spooky, but like usually not too spooky.
Yeah.
But as I grew older, like it was just really interesting, like with the whole like unsolved mystery, alien, supernatural, whatever, and just unraveling mysteries and secrets upon secrets and stuff like that, especially with like their boss, I think what was his name, Deep Throat or whatever. Like anytime they kept coming closer. No, dude.
No,
No. That's not my name. That's the character's name. I'm pretty sure, right? I could be wrong, but
it was the Cigarette Man. I know that.
The Smoking Man, yeah.
The Smoking Man, yeah.
Yeah, something like But anytime they came closer and closer to the truth, it'd be like this is classified information, and be like, damn, like got away and stuff like that. But it was just,
the music too is like,
it's chilling, very iconic and stuff like that. And I mean, the two main characters, played by David Duchovny
and Gillian
Anderson, like they had such good, I thought, really good chemistry on screen, stuff like that, and it was surprising to see them like keep that up for its entire duration, I think, and even after they revived it, right?
She's gotten better looking with age. Also,
I know.
Yes.
I don't want to focus on the looks of all these like but you're I'm not disagreeing at all. It's just one of those things where like,
hey, let's be honest here. David Duchovny as well, guys. Come on, let's be fair.
Yeah, he's a captain.
I mean, considering like he's way older than you realize.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So
awesome show. And maybe I'll go through it now.
It was I was like really psyched when I saw like a return kind of thing, and I watched like the first 2 episodes and never got back into it after that. But
I remember my sister she loved that show so much, and then we went to see the movie just because she wanted to see the movie. I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck?
It was like a longer episode. Yeah. So, all right. What are we on now? Number one, the one.
Let me guess. Wait.
Go ahead.
Deep Space Nine.
It is Deep Space Nine. One of the worst finales of all time, but one of the best build-ups to the worst finale of all time. I got Nick hooked on this show. Like that's how.
I remember like you guys just like sat like.
Tony, ask Nick about Deep Space Nine. How much you
yourself
love that
in
show.
a room and just like watch the entire thing.
Yeah. It was so awesome. The first few seasons, it took a while to get its footing. But like the second it tried to just kind of be its own thing and not Next Generation, it really took off. Like the Klingons, the Cardassian War, the Klingon War, and then you had the Dominion. When the Dominion came into it, it was just like another world. And like it actually had such a grid. Like there was actually successful Star Trek Armada video game spawned from this, like the Dominion ships and everything. That game was fantastic. The battles, the space combat in this show was just amazing, and the episodes were so good, so grand, like the combat, and I just love the characters. I got every single one of these characters. There's so many in this show. Like there's at least 9 that I could like name that every one of them I wanted to know what happened to them, and so they all had their own like arcs too. They would focus on episodes with them where they would get to develop their characters, and having it as a space station was something completely new at that point because it was like everything else was on a starship and it was different and. And that's, I think, hurt them at first because they had to figure out what they had to do with it. But once they really like got into it, it was awesome. I just loved that show so much that it was like, I put it down as my number 1 to begin with. And I'm like, Fresh Prince moved up my list. And I'm like, I loved both of them a lot, but I'm going with DS9. Even though the finale was so bad, because Corey mentioned in the beginning with Quantum Leap, it's like, you can forgive a lot of this because it was the 90s. So that's why it's my number 1. So
no, I remember you talking about this all the time back then in those days, and
I rewatched it recently.
He hasn't mentioned it yet. It's got to be Deep Space.
Yeah, I rewatched it recently. As soon as I saw that all of them were on Netflix, I was like, I'm watching this whole thing. This is before CBS All Access came out, but I rewatched the entire show from start to finish.
What's fun? It's the Worf and what's the guy's name?
You know what's funny?
Bartender guy. What's his name?
Quark.
That's it. Him and Worf are both big cameos in Castle.
Oh yeah. I know I'm freezing. Unfortunately, I was sad when I found out the Odo actor just passed away. The guy who played Odo just passed. But there's so many great. There were so many cameos in this from actors that you think they're major actors now, and they just were making small cameo appearances on this show. And it's amazing when you go back to look. You're like, holy shit, they had a cameo in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So it's unbelievable. So, anyways, Mike, what was your number 1?
My number 1 was Seinfeld.
Yay, my number 1 Seinfeld.
And for me, obviously, this was all in the 90s, I think. Obviously, we've all watched it a bit after the 90s through syndication, but I do recall the last season or 2 seeing it a bit and laughing about it with my friends, and adults loved it too. I remember adults went crazy for this show back then too. I remember we had a soccer game and they're like, hurry up, let's go get home because the Seinfeld finale's on. All the adults were getting antsy. But no, to me, this is one of the funniest shows. Again, I choose it over Friends just because the comedy is first, no one really like learns, no one changes, and no one hugs and like learns lessons at the end of these episodes. Like it's just like every character, like you can sympathize with them, but they're also like shitty enough people where you don't feel bad if something bad happens to them either. And it's like designed that way, sort of. So you have all these people who are mostly selfish, just like doing silly, mundane things to each other, and it's relatable, but it's not. And you have some of the most iconic characters of television history, and like Kramer, George Costanza, Newman. Like it's just I think the perfect comedy. And I even think it's a little different than a typical sitcom too. I think it like sort of transcends the genre.
Well, it bucked the trend a little bit too with how television shows are kind of looked at as well, comedies especially, because it really was about nothing. Like the show was about stupid conversations people have and then just running with that.
It's about mundane things, but there's actually like a very deliberate structure to it too. There's always like an A plot and a B plot, and then they come together to make something funny happen at the end. Like
they didn't really have like
unrelated
arcs though, right?
No.
That's what I mean. It's just the show is really about just everyday life and what.
That's why I thought it. That's why I kind of
that happen.
It's why I kind of prefer it to a show like Friends, because I don't want story arcs in this, because it helps you sort of focus on comedy.
I like story arcs. I like story.
I mean, they had light arcs, I guess. They had like people had different jobs they went to and got fired from here and there, and
obviously Seinfeld and Elaine, they get together at some points, and
Seinfeld and Elaine is the
George has a marriage that killed his wife.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So they had arcs,
but
it was comedy first, sort of like story second.
Well, I mean, for me again, obviously with a lot of other shows, people have their moments and the things that they think about and stuff. Like here, like there's so many ones in this. Like it came before a lot of the ones that are after now. Like a lot of the stuff, just like the bet, that episode, and just the doppelganger friends episode where Elaine has like the same friends she finds that hang out with.
That was great. The Mets, Keith Hernandez episode.
Yeah,
Keith Hernandez.
With the magic loogie.
Yep.
The episode with the eclairs and George taking his shirt off when he takes a shit. It's just like
I don't remember that one.
There's some crazy stuff. Yeah, I rewatched a lot.
It's like, there's like an eclair. Somebody just threw away an eclair in the garbage. Like sitting on top is like perfectly fine. So George like takes it out of the garbage and starts eating it. Someone sees him and he's like, "What is perfectly fine?"
George Costanza, man. Like it's just he's like what everyone is afraid they are. Is George Costanza, pretty much. But it just I don't know. It just resonates, and you can watch it endlessly, and everyone has, honestly.
No, there's people that hate it, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I people hate it because they're edgelords, I think, or they just don't like people who like the '90s.
Really? You don't think it's like you think this is universally appealing?
I don't think it's
universally appealing. That's the thing, man. Nothing.
Almost.
But it's close.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Tony, you're number one.
My number one, nobody listed, and it's probably a pretty personal and unique one, but and it's slightly cheating because I'm going to name two things, but they're kind of the same. But back in the day, and maybe the first hashtag it's all connected in television history, but it was Hercules and Xena. Remember, back in the day, they had like a power hour where they showed like one episode of Hercules and one episode of Xena,
Dude.
but.
If Kevin Sorbo wasn't such an asshole,
right?
Now,
and that's what I was talking about. That was why I was like super hesitant to list this because
I don't even know why is he an asshole now.
He is like the largest conservative political guy.
Ultra right wing, ultra right
wing.
Disappointed. I mean, but he lets you know about it. That's the problem. Like he doesn't shut up. Like he just keeps going with it. But,
yeah, but I figured Lucy Lawless outweighed that.
Oh yeah,
so
another just finer with a
finer with
fine
age.
wine.
Like even what was that?
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar.
Yeah, and then it was the another series she was in like in the past 5-10 years or whatever.
Spartacus.
Yeah, Spartacus. She was in that. And I was
Yep.
I was like, damn. I was like, as a Like, again, I don't want to focus on the female aspect of the show. That's not the reason, but it's like
these are 90s shows. That's what
right.
back then.
No, I know, but it's like, as a teenager, it's like Lucy Lawless is like, yeah, making me horny. And it's like, as an adult now, it's like, oh, Lucy Lawless is still making me horny and stuff like that. So it's like, whatever, it's like, all right. But no, I mean, just, being Greek, the whole Greek aspect, and especially like Greek mythology, was like really cool. And I was like super into it. Like my best friend at the time
kind of introduced me to it.
Yeah, and it was just really cool because like we'd like, get together and watch it, and just and then as Xena came out, like that was a cool plot line because it would take this villain character and like turn her into this like redemption, like a redemption arc. Literally, that was the entire point of the Xena series and stuff like that. But again, it was just characters from either series would pop up in like random episodes and just be like, oh, like I'm here and oh you're here, like, all right, guess it's the team up episode or something like that. But it was just really great, iconic, and just one of those things where like I'm almost afraid to watch it now because like I'm afraid like the hokiness of like special effects and
it's gonna ruin the memory of it.
Yeah, but
they made all like mini movies with Kevin Sorbo, like the Minotaur and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I watched them recently. I'm like, oh, this doesn't hold up so good.
Yeah. But at least for my childhood in the '90s, it was up there.
Oh, it was such good. Yeah, I used to like love to watch that, like the Hercules stuff.
Did you guys remember that show around the same time called The Lost World?
Sounds familiar.
It was literally where the people went, based I guess on that book, where they went to like this prehistoric island, like they got marooned. I don't know. It was this same low budget thing from the 90s too.
Yeah, that's funny.
It reminds me of that, but I watched that a bunch. It was funny.
Do we want to do a consensus list here or no?
I mean, do we have enough overlap?
I think Seinfeld would be number one because it made both your.
You would say,
right?
I mean, Fresh Prince was number 2 for two of us, so that's got some major points for it. That would be number 2, and then you would go like Hercules, DS9, and Friends.
Friends made 2 lists.
Yeah, or Power Rangers.
Oh, Power Rangers, that made 2 lists.
That's true. I mean, but Friends was higher up.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, unless you don't want to take the number ones. You want to drop the number ones, you can do Friends.
Well, we gotta take number ones.
Yeah, so that's why it would be Hercules, then DS9, and then.
Let's call Xena. I mean.
Okay, Xena. We'll call Xena. Made it. So we'll do Seinfeld, Fresh Prince, Xena, DS9, and Friends, or Buffy was on twice.
I think Buffy and Friends were both 3 and 3 for both of you.
It is a tie.
Yeah. There you go. That's fine.
So we have a tie. So we do Buffy and Friends at number 5.
Buffy Friends.
Buffy Friends. That is your number 5. Number 4 is DS9. Number 3 is Xena. Number 2 is Fresh Prince, and then number 1 is Seinfeld. That's our top list for the 90s, folks. Thanks for tuning in. You can write us podcast at allyoucangeek.net. Follow us on Twitter, allyoucangeek. Like us on Facebook. And if you're watching us on YouTube,
and tell us what we missed.
Yeah, let us know.
Tell us what's on your list.
If you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below. Let us know what we missed, what you liked. We appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you on the Gamecast.